as usual, we're going to start off with what's new in Snowflake. So this is June of 2022. What's new? A couple of real highlights here. With the new features, you can see Snowpark, Python, a lot of Snowpark, Python. We're not going to talk about a lot of that now because we're going to get into that in the actual ProTalk today and next month. Today we're going to do some of the basics and the general. What is Snowpark for Python and create a stored procedure, and then next month do a deeper dive and do some machine learning things and some really cool stuff like that. So that being said, SQL updates, the alter tag commands has been added to support masking policies, which you can see that over here in data sharing updates. We'll talk about that. But tag-based masking policies are in preview. Really cool. There's some really cool things there. I'm sure we'll touch on that in the months coming up. But take a look at that. And there's also along in the SQL updates, along with the adding support for the alter tag command, adding the masking policies to the tag. We also have a couple of new functions where we can get the tag on the current column. So we can get a tag value for a specific tag on the column that we're looking at. And we've got get tag on current table. So we can use these in our masking policies so that we could put like a classification tag on a column, on a table. And then in our masking policy, we could use the function of system get tag on current column value for the classification. And then if it's PII, then we can apply our masking. So some cool things with those new functions there. Some updates to virtual warehouses, DML latency improvements. There's a number of things that were going on there. We won't go into the details. I actually was at a really, really cool session at Snowflake Summit a month or so ago, where we talked about they were talking about the details of some of the things they're doing for latency improvements. And there's some really, suffice it to say, there's some really cool work being done behind the scenes there that are going to benefit all of us in the Snowflake world. So wonderful thing. Larger warehouses. We've got the ability to run some larger warehouses. Again, as I normally do here, just a caution, just because they're there, just because we can, doesn't mean we should. So again, as always, use warehouses, virtual warehouses properly. Let's size them properly and use scaling in and out. Let's use warehouse clusters and scaling policies to really support what our workflows are and our processes are. So data unloading
up to now, like 8x, or is it 12x?
6XL.
6XL. Okay.
6XL. Yep.
Jeez,
so
that's a lot.
Which is a lot of processing power, and if you need it, but if you don't, we don't need to go to that cost. So again, use them wisely. So with data loading and unloading updates with Snowpipe, we now can get error notifications from a Google Cloud Pub Sub or Microsoft Azure event that's in preview. Snowpipe support for non-pipe owners to call the Snowpipe REST API is there, and this one really cool. I got a whole list now of things that we want to do in the next few months in ProTalks, but the Dag support is really cool for tasks. We've talked about tasks before, streams and tasks for orchestration in Snowflake and different things we can do with tasks. And we had mentioned before, I think it was probably a year ago, we did a ProTalk and we talked about how tasks were kind of like just hitting their teenage years. Well, they're aging in dog years. We're getting a lot of new functionality. So Dag support is a really big thing for tasks. It's a really cool thing. So if you're using tasks, if you have some additional requirements, go ahead and take a look at that. Read the Snowflake docs on the Dag support for tasks. Really cool stuff there. Data classification is now in GA, so that's generally available. We actually talked about that a couple of months ago in a ProTalk, so there's some really cool things there. As I mentioned, tag-based masking policies. So we can create a masking policy. We can apply that to a tag. Then by applying that tag to a table or a column, for example, that masking policy is automatically applied to that table or that column. So let's say, for example, we had a masking policy that was for a string of varchar data type, and we applied that to a tag, and we applied that tag to a table. what would happen is all of the varchar columns, all the string columns in that table would have that masking policy applied. And so there's some really cool things that we could do with that. It makes it really, gives us some really cool opportunities and functionality in dealing with dynamic data masking. So some cool stuff there. Restructured security integration topics in the documentation. You know, I love Snowflake's documentation. I'll tell you that over and over again. Go look at that restructuring. Good stuff there. And we got a new region.
Hey folks, thanks for checking out this cut from our broadcast. To see the full show, click on the link in the video description. Also, check out our Learning Center, which has white papers, events, live streams, and short explainer videos on a wide range of data management topics. And of course, if you like our content, please share it on LinkedIn. That really means a lot to us. Thanks again for checking us out, and we hope to see you in our next broadcast.